Hey everybody, this is Dr. C back with Infuse Your Future, and we have a lot of exciting developments happening this week. First and foremost is I have my first guest speaker, and I'm just so thankful to this person who decided to come on my show and, be the brave individual to break the mold for the Infuse Your Future brand. Just a quick note, this was recorded at my house, and the first few minutes of this episode, you'll hear some squeaking in the background because my dog decided that she wanted to get some attention with her squeaky toy. And I wasn't able to edit all of it out. So that's why you hear the squeaky noise in the beginning. Anyway, without further ado, here it is. Well, hey, infusers. Today we are here with a special guest for today's episode. Her name is
Serena Moy.
She's a great friend of mine, and one of the things that I want to do with this podcast is just interview other people that are amazing and do amazing things in their lives, and just see what they have to say. So, and this is my first guest ever, so we're just gonna play it by ear and chat and see what's going on. So, Serena, thanks for being willing to do this with me and kind of be a guinea pig in a sense.
Sure. No, this is interesting.
But having known you for a while, I know that you infuse a lot of greatness in the world. So I just wanted to leave it open and let you just kind of speak.
Oh, thank you.
And how do you infuse the world? How do you infuse your own life?
Ooh, those are deep questions. How do I infuse the world and my own life? I guess the thing that comes to my mind first and foremost is I try and infuse a lot of positivity in both of those areas of my life. So when it comes to work, I'm hoping I'm hoping that I'm infusing a lot of positivity by doing the work. I mean, so I work at an executive search firm, and my job is to lead projects where we're working closely with typically nonprofit organizations, educational organizations, schools, a lot of charter schools. And so my job is to work with these clients and then help them to find and identify leaders that will help to lead their organizations. So by doing that, I'm hoping that the folks that we are recruiting for these organizations is bringing a lot of positivity, that we are finding folks who are inspirational, who are going to take their organizations to the next level, which is usually what they tell us that they're looking for when it comes to recruiting for them. That's why they're paying us a lot of money to do this work. So that kind of comes first to mind in terms of my professional, like what I'm doing and the way I'm infusing positivity in the world. And then in terms of my family life and my home, I don't know, actually it's kind of related. I've often thought that by doing the work that I do, it's serving as a role model for my kids, for my family, like the work that, well, first of all, that I'm trying to juggle being a mom and working full time, which is not easy. And so that I feel is really important, as a role model for my two boys. And then also specifically the work. So the actual work that I'm doing. I mean, working with all these organizations that I think are doing a lot of really great things in the world. It would typically our clients, those organizations are serving underserved communities. So communities that don't have the kind of resources that, other more wealthy communities have. So, one of the big values that our organization lives by is, we're trying to basically find and place a lot of leaders of color in these organizations because those are the communities that they're serving. And And so, I mean, it's not all. We also place plenty of leaders who are not identified as people of color, um, but definitely like that's kind of a driving force, like the just wanting to make that kind of a difference in people's lives. That's what's driving it. So I'm kind of hoping that like working with those places or working with those organizations is also showing like you know being a good role model to my kids. Um, so I don't know. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, that was amazing. I
I
mean,
know.
I have so many questions from that, but you know, I love everything you said. You're working for nonprofits, which in and of itself, you know, is great because as we know, most nonprofits are there to kind of serve a community that needs to be served that's not being
Mm-hmm.
served in other places.
Mm-hmm.
You're working with schools, you know, finding great leadership for schools. Um,
Yeah, it's you build this relationship with candidates as they go through a process, and whether they get placed or not, you just build this relationship, and so you follow up with each other once in a while. Your paths cross, and it's really fun. So actually, that's one of the things that makes this job so rewarding, is that even if you make a connection with somebody and you're not able to like place them in a job per se, you still build that relationship and you can help them in other ways. I do a lot of career coaching too. Like in it, like sort of inadvertently through this process, I do career coaching. I don't call myself a career coach. I never like advertise myself as a career coach, but I end up doing a lot of that indirectly through the work that I'm doing. So yeah, it's super rewarding.
do any of your placements or your finds stand out as the ones that you're the most proud of?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. It's hard to pick one. There's so many. There've been a lot of. I mean, honestly, I gain so much inspiration from the folks that I meet and that we have a chance to place. It's really hard for me to pick one.
So, I
They're
mean,
all my favorites, Carla. So
good answer, good
yeah,
answer.
okay.
So I really believe in like the ripple effect, or you know, like the pay it forward, or you know, just that um, making small positive changes on a routine basis can lead to larger changes overall. You know, in your own personal microcosm, your own micro community, and on and out, you know, to eventually become global changes. Um, so I'm wondering if you have seen that in your job. Have you seen little changes that you've made?
Hmm.
Well, I guess it doesn't have to be a job or family that have had kind of this ripple effect and to make other changes elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, well, so the thing that stands out when I think of that is the work that I do. That's probably where I see it more. Um, maybe with through work, it's more intentional. If that makes sense.
Oh,
Like
for sure.
yeah, like we are purposefully going out and trying to find leaders for these organizations, and sometimes, to be quite honest, it's the right person is often somebody who reflects the community that they're serving. So by placing somebody who reflects that, I feel like, and in some of these organizations that's never existed before.
Mm.
So in that regard, we're making it may be a small step. It's just one person, but that one person can have an amazing amount of influence over a community, especially if kids are seeing somebody that kind of looks like them, sounds like them, maybe has a similar upbringing or background, who is now in a leadership role. Like those kids can espouse to, like, wow, someday I can do that. Right? It's kind of like, I mean, I'm thinking of the obvious example, like Barack Obama, right? He's president of the United States. So think of all the African American children now who can look and say, wow, I could do that. I could do that too. I don't think you could say that maybe when I was really young. I'm not going to say when, because then I'll be dating myself. But when I was growing up, I don't think that necessarily would have been the case.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, now
So,
even the White House press secretary,
right.
African American.
Well, our vice president, right? So,
Yeah,
Kamala Harris.
right.
So, she's half, I think she's half Indian
Half Indian.
and then half African American.
Right.
So think of all those folks that she kind
And
of
100%
represents.
female.
There you go. Oh yeah, hello. Yes, female. Exactly. I mean, yeah. So you think about what kind of role modeling that is for people. So
So
yeah. So anyways, my point is like I feel like my role in that is small, but yeah, I guess it can have a larger impact.
So I'm just curious. I mean, how did you get started on this career path? I mean, is this something you'd wanted to do since you were a kid? Did you just kind of fall
No,
into it? I
no.
mean,
I thought about being a teacher when I was young, and so I used to have like I remember I had this chalkboard, and I'd set it up. I'd set it up in my bedroom.
sorry guys, we're recording this podcast at my home, and my dog is just very excited, and she
I happened to
is
pick the chew toy that makes a squeak.
the only chew toy we have right now that squeaks. That's the one she's after,
I didn't know.
and she's trying to get our attention because we're ignoring her.
It's almost like she knows.
Yeah,
Right? Isn't that funny? Like she knows we're doing a podcast.
maybe.
So smart. Where was I talking? Oh yeah. So I used to want to be a teacher, I think, for a long time. I used to have a chalkboard and I would set up my little pretend classroom in my bedroom and I'd have my little pretend like students and I'd be the teacher. So there's been an education thread in my whole life. Um and then for a little while I think I wanted to be I don't know, I think I sort of aspired to be this is gonna sound really lame, an office person. Like I don't know what that means. Like office, like I don't know.
A corporate.
Yeah. Corporate office person, whatever. So I had actually ended up in human resources when I came out of college. I worked for a financial services firm, and then in HR, I did a rotation in recruitment, and actually, I loved it. So so that's kind of what sparked the like the hiring and recruitment interest. But I was also interested in working. I've always been interested in working in either nonprofit organizations. I didn't know that much about nonprofits. I had always had my focus on working in the private sector or in a school. And so I didn't know that much about nonprofits, but it seemed to me like nonprofits. I loved I loved the mission of nonprofit organizations. They always sort of intrigued me. And so then when I went back to grad school, that's what I studied. I studied nonprofit management, and so I kind of learned a little bit about what it means to run a nonprofit, and then how people run nonprofits. And then I ended up working eventually. I had many jobs, and I finally ended up working at a nonprofit organization, and I worked while working at this nonprofit, I was in HR. So I was actually able to merge the two things that I loved doing and I had interest in. Um, and that's what started this sort of like trajectory of working with nonprofits, placing leaders. I actually worked internally at a nonprofit organization, and that's what I did. And that's what started this whole thing. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. I feel lucky that I've had a lot of full circle moments in my life in that way because I know a lot of times folks don't like they don't quite get to the end of the other side of the circle career wise or they're not really sure why they're doing what they're doing, but I feel like for me I've had this kind of interesting like path and it makes sense. Like I understand why I am where I am.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I'm happy about where I am. I think a lot of times what saddens me is talking to people and hearing that they're not really happy doing what they're doing or what they've been doing for pretty much like a majority of their life, which I think is sad.
Well, you mentioned earlier that you're an executive coach.
Well, I'm
I
not.
mean, you're not an executive coach.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I'm like I'm
you
not
mentioned
certified.
earlier that you kind of sort of coach people.
I do. Yeah.
So what would you say to those people that you just mentioned that you know that they're really unhappy in their careers? Um,
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, and I know I get this too. I understand that sometimes people's passions are one thing, but at the end of the day, they have to make a living. They have a family to take care of. And so I get all that. So I think that's where the trade off is sometimes. So people might not be able to pursue their true passion because their true passion won't give them the kind of income that they really need to support their family. So I respect that and I get that.
do you
Um,
think it's possible for people to start pursuing their passions on the side, and then at some point,
yeah,
when the time is right,
yeah.
they can make the switch? Say you had a grad student in front of you who happens to be 25 years old,
Hmm.
and they had a vision for themselves. What would you say to them to help them get that vision?
Yeah, that's a great question. Guess it's hard to know without knowing what that vision is, right? What it is that
Mm,
they want to strive for. But I would, I mean, I kind of went through this talking to to our oldest son recently about try different things. I mean, that was kind of what I did. I tried lots of different things, worked in lots of different industries. Um, some things were fine, other things were not so good. But then at least I knew, oh, I don't want to do that, or I don't want to work there.
do
Like,
you think
right?
that that has helped you sort of land where you are?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Although it was painful to go through some of it. So I don't know. That's why I'm like, if you can identify and find a place without having to go through some of the oops moments in your life, then that would be great. Or you feel like you wasted, oh, I wasted a year working at this place or whatever. Why did I stay here so long? Because that's the other thing. You can get into a job and feel comfortable, even though it's not great. But then you're like, well, it's a lot of work to look for another job. So,
Right. It's just comfortable enough
mhm.
that you don't want to go outside of your comfort zone.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but it's not going to get you where you want to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think if I've been in those situations. I think, yeah, I probably have. Um, yeah, I can think of it. I can think of it. Well, I was thankful, lucky enough to be able to get out of those sort of situations, I guess, in a relatively quick amount of time. So it wasn't too, I don't feel like I wasted too much time. But there were a couple jobs where I was like, maybe I didn't need to do that. Maybe I should have tried something else. So, yeah.
Well, I know we both have sons who are in high school.
Yes.
Um, and so we both have a unique perspective on being a parent in today's atmosphere. With all the distractions the kids have, what kind of advice do you have for high schoolers these days? To Because I know that, kind of rounding it out, right? We both have young boys, and you have this great career at an executive search firm where you're searching for the future leaders in key areas. So, like, what advice would you have for high schoolers today that would help them be the people you're going to find in,
Mm.
say, 5, 10 years?
Ooh, that's a deep question.
Nothing like putting you on the spot,
I
right?
know. I'm like, whoa, that was a pretty loaded. Hmm. I don't know. That's a great question. I mean, I think I would tell, like, well, I mean, this is what I tell my son now. Get involved. Um, Something I didn't do myself in high school as much. I did get involved, but I think I could have gotten more involved directly. And so, or it took me a little bit longer. I didn't really get more involved until like my senior year in high school, and I kind of regret that. I think if I had gotten more involved in like just within my high school community, then I think I think that would have I would have really benefited from that. So so I would say that try and get involved somehow, some way. It doesn't have to be just student government. I don't know, join a club. And also, if you get involved in activities, it'll keep you off of the phones and the screens, keep you away from the screens. So I don't care how you get involved, whether it's sports, activities, clubs, student council, drama, whatever your interest is, get involved in something that you're passionate about, and go do it. Go try it. Or if it's even, or like try new things. That's another thing I would advise. Go try new things. Kind of like back to your whole point of like break out of your comfort zone. My oldest, he when he said I remember him coming home one day telling us, "Hey, I'm going to try out for water polo." And I remember thinking, "What? Okay, first of all, you've never like like never did any swim team, or I mean, he was a swimmer. I mean, swimmer meaning like yeah, we'd go swimming. He knew how to swim, and we'd go swimming on vacation. But he never expressed any interest before enjoying any kind of a swim type of team event. And then when he told us he wanted to try it out sophomore year, because some friends of his approached him and said, "Hey, you should come do this with us." Um, yeah, I thought it was great because he had never done it before. My husband and I hadn't even thought of like encouraging him to go, "Oh yeah, go try out for water polo." That was all his own doing. Um, I know it broke him out of his comfort zone. So yeah, I mean, I would encourage high schoolers to, yeah, go try something new, something that and usually at that age, it's got to be something what you're doing with friends. So go find out what your friends are doing and go do it with them because it's more fun when your friends are there with you anyway. Right? So whatever it is, yeah, that's my advice is get involved somehow, some way to build that community because I just think it's going to make your high school years more meaningful. So
And I would add one more thing to what you were saying about the friends is in addition to finding out what your friends like, um, do something you like and invite your friends to come along with you.
yeah, yeah, you could take the lead, right? You could totally take the lead and say, "Hey guys, let's go do this, or let's join this, or whatever." I think that will. So going back to the question about how do you think that would influence their life later on, I think it will have a huge impact and influence in their life later on. They're going to have to do that exact same thing when they go out into the real world. They're going to have to stick their neck out, right? They're going to have to. Hopefully will be forced to try new things as they become adults. So I think the sooner you can do that and be confident in yourself to do it, the better.
Right, right.
See, that's why I wish, like, I look back at my life and I think, gosh, I wish I had that confidence when I was younger.
Oh, for sure.
I got it later, like when I went off to college. I didn't have it in high school. So
yeah, me neither.
So
I didn't have it until after 50.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay. All right. It's never too late.
That's true. It never is.
It's never too late.
So what else? What other words of wisdom or
Oh
just
my gosh.
words? If you just want to say words.
Words.
Anything else you want to say?
Don't this is here's my last words of wisdom, okay? Don't go through life wondering what could, like, or being afraid to try something. So, or being afraid to go and I don't know, live somewhere new or try something different or putting yourself in a certain situation. Yeah. You just don't want to look back and go, "Oh, I wish I had done this."
Right.
Right.
So one last question. What would you say is one way that people could start infusing their lives with learning and growing starting right now, today?
I don't know. I think it's a lot of what I just kind of talked about.
Yeah.
Right. Don't be afraid to try something new. I don't know. Go watch a bunch of YouTube videos and get inspired. I totally get inspired sometimes when I watch other people's YouTube videos or or other people's stories. It's so funny. I like to I guess this makes sense. I like to watch interviews Maybe because I interview people for a living. So I actually really love watching people be interviewed for, it doesn't just have to be like celebrity interviews, although I do like, admittedly, okay, I do love celebrity interviews. So, but even that, sometimes like just listening to them, um, I don't know, I get inspired to try something or do something different. But yeah, what
So yeah,
else
what's
could
it like being on the other side of the mic? You
Yeah,
said you
it's
interview people
I
all the
know, and
time
I'm
and
being
now you're being
interviewed.
interviewed.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting. It is kind of interesting to be on the other side of the mic. I don't mind this kind of interview is fine. I think it would be hard for me to do a job interview because I haven't done a job interview in a long time, but I mean for myself. Um, but yeah, it's I love it actually. It's fun. It's forcing me to sort of think in a different way, which is nice. Um, so I'm using my brain in it. I'm having to switch my brain in a different way and use it in a different way.
So how have you liked this experience? Would you be interested in doing it again?
Sure, if you'd have me as a guest again. um, yeah, I would love to. That would be fun. Yeah. So I don't know if fully answered your last question. Um, I don't know. I think just yeah, don't be afraid to try. I think that the thread in my life has been, well, career-wise, I'm not afraid to try new things. So, and I think I'm constantly, even work, I'm getting pushed, and being pushed out of comfort zone, and feeling uncomfortable is often the greatest learning opportunity. So maybe that's the advice I have. So
I love it. I love it.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much.